Ellie, it is such an honor to have you join the Books for Guys podcast this week. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Well, I don't even know how, Ellie, I don't know how I came across your book. Somebody on LinkedIn had commented or reposted it and it popped up on my feed. And I was like, okay, this book looks really interesting. Number one, because I've been in tech sales for the last decade. And so anyone who's in that space and is writing about AI and leadership, all that has all resonated with me and a lot of people that I'm friends and network with. And so when I saw your book, I was like, okay, I've got to message Ellie and see if she'll come on the Books for Guys podcast. To kick things off, talk a little bit about your background and career and your progression and motivation to writing your book, Role Modelship, because you've been out in California, you've worked for some very reputable and recognizable names and companies out there. But talk about just your background and kind of where that led to writing your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So, my story is two suitcases and a dream. I came to this country from Bulgaria right after the Berlin Wall fell. And I came here to study business and technology. So, I was super, super lucky. I'm going to share a couple of pivotal decisions that just happened in my life. My first company was Autodesk. And a little disclaimer, I'm not here representing any of the companies I've worked for. They're all wonderful. I'm here as an author. So this is not investment advice, but wonderful company, amazing school of leadership and management. And that kind of set the foundation for me to think about you can really be anything. And their hashtag and motto is you can make anything. And so executives there really embody that spirit. Then I pivoted over to blockchain and crypto. And that was purely because I was super fascinated with the technology. And as a technologist, you can't miss the opportunity to work in decentralized finance. And I learned a lot. And most importantly, I learned how difficult it is to build infrastructure. People always underestimate that. Then I pivoted my career to venture capital and private equity. They pulled me. I didn't find them. They found me because I was already giving back to the world. We had a culture of giving back. I enjoyed helping startups with product market fit and technology strategy, and I became an advisor. So I've advised more than 150 companies. I mean, think about this. People in their lifetime work for what? I don't know, maybe 10 companies? I love it. It's wonderful. There is one side effect, which is you've heard of the term, computer fragmentation. Well, I've got brain fragmentation because of all the context switching. Because when you're advising many, many companies, you're constantly switching context about their challenges, their opportunities, their technology. So it's fun, but it's also difficult. And all of this led me to writing a book about role models. So why is that? At Autodesk, I had amazing role models, worked with great companies in the VCP world. But one thing, I always wanted to create this platform. You know how Spotify gives musicians ability to get micro licensing? I wanted to do that for authors. Well, it's a lot harder than you'd think. So I tried that a couple of different ways and very quickly figured out that the biggest authors are not really interested in the micropayments and the microtransactions that the technology allows. So I pivoted, and this is the biggest takeaway I've learned in my life is when you make a mistake, when you fail, you have to quickly pivot to the next idea, which is, okay, so if you want to be an author and if you want to help authors and give back to the next generation and help leaders grow, what other options are out there? And one of the options was to be an author, to show up as somebody who believes in the value of leadership and role modelship, and open doors for others that way.
I love that. I love your motivation. I love your story. I didn't know that you had came from Bulgaria and created this amazing career. that you've gotten to work with so many amazing companies and people at these companies, and you must be kinda like I'm a people person. I love networking, I love talking with people and hearing their stories or solving problems space, so I get to work with a lot of different clients and managers in different parts of the country, and it's refreshing for me. I like having different conversations and different things to look forward to and talk with people about, but you had such an incredible I mean, when you first got to America, what were some of the struggles and things you had to overcome to really not battle, but to get yourself into these big organizations and create a role for
Mhm.
yourself? And I know you mentioned the importance of having good role models and leaders, and I'm sure you had a lot that helped you with your career climb, but what were some of the things that you had to go through to get to where you're at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, everything in life is a spectrum. So, the struggles are anywhere from I didn't speak English. So, I learned English by
Wow.
listening to the Beatles. And I literally wrote songs down and I used these giant dictionaries that I carried in my suitcase so I can translate. So, beginning of struggle is learning a new language and then learning business and technology in a new language. Now, luckily, from a technology perspective, it's mostly in English. So that actually helped me out. Then on the other end of the spectrum is I didn't know what jobs to pursue. So I had lots of mentors. And in my book, I talk about the role modelship pyramid, which has 5 levels. On the bottom is stewardship, then it's fellowship, mentorship, leadership, and sponsorship. So if you climb that pyramid, I've been super lucky to be surrounded by teams of people that help elevate each other. And as a leader, that's one of the biggest things I learned is you can put anything on your resume as the executive, but it's not your personal accomplishment because you win as a team. And it's really important how you show up as a leader and how you give credit to other people. And one of my favorite expressions from one of my role models at Autodesk, Jeff Brzezicki, who is the former CIO, is there are no winners on a losing team. So
Wow.
think
I
about that
like
for a
that.
moment.
Yeah. I've never actually heard anyone say that before. I like that quote. Well, Ellie, talk a little bit
Yes.
about specifically your book because you incorporate kind of what you need to do to be a good leader or role model in this new day and age. Because you talk about AI a lot too. I guess dive into that a little bit more about because I like what you're saying. Like we influence AI does what we tell it to do and what we want it to do. So we've got to have our own, I guess, value system in what we're trying to create to make sure this balances out. But talk a little bit about your message and what you're trying to say in regarding AI and the influence and how we can be good leaders and role models moving forward with this technology that is very quickly doing things that I don't think we really expected even that long ago. So it is nerve-wracking. It's very I don't know, there's a lot of unknown to it. So I'm curious just your thoughts and how you incorporated that with your book.
Yeah, you're spot on. So the expression that was coined for the STEM age was you can't be what you can't see, which really talks about the power of role models. And we humans are hardwired to emulate. We take an example. It could be a person, it could be a company, it could be a technology, and we say, oh, I want to be the next Apple. I want to be the next Amazon. I want to be the next Amazon in a different space. So we try to figure out how to take the best of the best and use it as a competitive advantage. Now, what's changing in the world of AI is AI can't be what AI can't see. And the reason for that is leadership and mentorship and sponsorship, they used to be these soft skills. And people would say, well, results are more important than soft skills. Well, now culture is actually becoming training data. If you look at what NVIDIA is doing, NVIDIA is training robots in Cosmos, which is synthetic data in a space that is using values and behaviors that humans exhibited to train the robots. So, I mean, pause for a second and think your life is now training data for AI and for
It's so
humanoids.
weird
How
to
does that
think
make you
about.
feel?
I heard their CEO on a podcast recently, and my mind was just blown at the things he was talking about, and just the AI and your AI versus this AI, and just all these ideas that are kind of hard to fathom, but it's becoming easier and easier the more we see, the capabilities. So it's
Mm.
but yeah, it's very weird to think about that I'm a test study for what a robot is going to be and how it's going to act and what it's going to do. It's just really weird.
Yep. So role modelship is a meta skill. What's a meta skill? It's a skill that can teach you other skills. It's a values and behavior framework that basically allows humans to raise the bar. And it's to raise the bar on not just results, because AI is so focused now on productivity and efficiency, which, if those are not grounded and anchored into ethics and law and human values, it doesn't really matter what the technology
Interesting
achieves.
take, because it could do some very negative things if we're not careful. And you hear people talk about that all. I mean, Elon Musk, Nvidia CEO, all these people that are working at these high level AI initiatives. There does seem to be a pretty common theme of most of them sounding an alarm in a way that if we're not careful and if we don't
Mhm.
go about this the right way, that this could get out of hand and it could lead to some very dangerous things. So I guess, what's your opinion on the state of AI currently, and what are you, I don't know, what's your kind of personal message that you're trying to share with others?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am cautiously optimistic. And cautiously, because I'm one of the people that's sounding the alarm saying, look, we created intelligence that is much greater than us. It has the capability to multiply itself. It has an IQ that is higher than 90% of humans and improving. And it can be hijacked. As a CIO, I have a background in application security, so I can tell you how dangerous it is to hijack something and make it into a weapon or turn it into something that's against humanity. So my question to, and I'm a technologist, my question to technologists is, why are we in such a big hurry to create something that could end humanity? And why can't we slow down and really consider environmental impacts, energy, data centers with nuclear energy, the economics, tens of thousands of humans getting laid off, the ethics? Some of these models were created by basically taking copyrighted work of authors that are now going to get paid pennies for 30 years of their knowledge. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the policy and economics and ethics will catch up to the technologists, but I think the technologists have a massive responsibility to not just focus on what's possible, but to think about how does that benefit
Yeah, and
humanity.
that's been, I think the main argument I always hear people talk about is if we don't create it, somebody else will, maybe with bad intentions. So there seems to just be this race of getting things out there just so that we can say we've already done it or we have this capability. But you're right, it's very interesting. And again, just a few years ago when we were talking about I don't know if anyone realized how far advanced we would already be. Uh,
Mm.
I mean, I use it every day now for certain things, but you're right. I see 10 years ago, software developers were in very high demand, high salaries, and now they're the ones getting laid off the most. And it's like, okay, what do they do? And I know there's this argument of, hey, you got to retool and do something different, but AI is really taking on a lot more and doing a lot more than we ever expected. So it is a very interesting time to navigate and figure that out. And I'm glad that you're out there, not necessarily sounding the alarm, but putting a warning out saying, like, hey, we've got to really be careful how we go about continuing to build this and seeing what capabilities it can do, because yeah, it really could have a very bad impact economically, all kinds of different ways. And so yeah, the more every month that goes by, I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy.
Well, the good news is
That's right.
humans are
That's
still
right.
in charge. So, one of the things that I think is super important for culture is based on stories, and stories are based on the words that we use. So I'm asking my peers to stop using the expression human in the loop because I think that already makes it sound like AI is in charge, and to pivot to an expression of human in the lead, human in charge, because our future is human and we have the ability to decide what is our role? That's why I'm saying humans need a much greater role in this new world, and there isn't a greater role than one of a role model that other humans want to emulate. But we also get to decide what jobs we give to AI that are not inherently human, that don't give us meaning and purpose. We get to make those decisions. So, right now, in some companies, there's a lot of discussion around what roles should AI be put in and what roles are going to be preserved for humans.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. And I love that you're coming at this encouraging people to be better role models. Cuz I'm thinking about just my career and the people that I've been blessed to be follow and learn from, and just how important they were to me, and the lessons I took. And you're right, the people leading these initiatives and this growth need to be good role models so that others follow and that we go about this the right way. Because if there's a bad role model out there and people follow that, it could go south very quickly. So I like that you're encouraging in your message to take the right steps and be a good leader and learn the tools that it takes to do that. So I like that approach because I appreciate good leaders and I've learned a lot from them, and hopefully I can pass along that and be a good role model as well. But Ellie, another question I had for you, because you'd mentioned, your interest in learning about crypto and stuff too. I saw you worked at Coinbase. What's your personal opinion on the state of cryptocurrency, and where does that fall within this world of AI? And I mean, do you think crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum is the future that we're going to massively adopt, or just what's your overall thoughts on it?
Yeah, totally a personal opinion, not investment advice, not representing any company. I have to give you the disclaimers. I am optimistic on crypto, and I'll tell you why. As a technologist, first, when you're building infrastructure, it takes a long time. So you can't be thinking about what is it doing today? What is it doing this month? You have to think, and for humans, it's really hard to think in long horizons. I mean, when I think back that I've had a 30-year career, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 years, right? But infrastructure takes 10 years to build. Why is that interesting? So, take one example, a self driving car. I think of this possibility of micropayments, and this is where crypto and AI really work together. And it's symbiotic, very nice partnership. You're in a self driving car and you need to be in a fast lane, or you need to pay for toll, or you need to figure out where your exit is. Instead of, because there's no more human behind the wheel, now cars have to negotiate with each other on the freeway. Well, how are they going to do that? They're going to do that with micropayments and microtransactions. So one car is going to signal and make a payment to either the toll authority or another car that it's going in the fast lane, that's turning, you know, that's the future. So that future is actually exciting because that's not a value add activity for a human.
Interesting. I haven't heard that example before, but you're right. Every time, again, the more conversations I have, the more examples like that are put out there, and I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like, this just makes too much sense for it, not to be implemented. Do you have any specific thoughts on, just because I think, the market is like so saturated with people creating different cryptocurrencies and different coins. What do you think it's going to take for the ones that are, your Bitcoin, Cardanos, your Ethereums, obviously those are, in your stable coins. Like, what's it going to take for, I guess, these companies to build out what needs to be built to become the most massively adopted, I guess, currency to use? Or is there always going to be hundreds of different coins because that's what we decide we want to invest in, and let it kind of play out? Like, what are your thoughts, I guess, on just the structure of it all?
That's a great question. So the reasons there's so many is because there's so many ideas. How is it going to flow to the top is your question. It's going to happen when people solve real human problems and when those problems really, really matter. So, Ethereum, for example, with the smart contracts, that's necessary, right? Because when you think of your entire life as a negotiation and you're constantly negotiating some form of contract, that's super important. Bitcoin is the store of value, is important longer term, but you have to look beyond what is it doing today, what is it doing this year, to what is it doing in the next 10 years. I'm not even going to be alive to see what's going to end up happening at the last halving, right? So it's really hard to be a futurist and say what's going to happen. I can tell you that the trajectory right now is the right trajectory. We have to keep learning and experimenting to see what are those problems that are going to float to the top. One thing I can tell you on AI, technologists have to stop trying to solve the same problem that has already been solved. Even if the technology is a little bit less inferior, how many more marketing systems do I need? How many more CRMs do I need? When I hear that there is yet another startup in the same space, I ask the question of, well, why don't we solve a problem that is so difficult to solve, either in medicine, healthcare, or copyright for authors? It's been so difficult to solve that before AI wasn't possible, but now for the first time it's possible. So that's what I urge technologists to do, is to think of the space of problems that add value to humans and solve
I
those.
love that answer because I mean, again, I live on LinkedIn, so I'm constantly seeing different companies, and I'm like, oh, another HR software company or another, benefits here. I'm like, how many of these companies can exist, and how many can do well? I guess right now a lot can do okay, but yeah, I love your approach to like, let's now that we have the ability to tackle bigger problems, let's focus on those problems and let the cream rise to the top and let's get some actual solve going on for some real human problems. So no, I love that approach, Ellie. That's really cool that you describe it that way. Well, Ellie, one more question for you. 'Cause this is so fascinating. I love this conversation. I'm learning so much from you. And just again, I love hearing insight and your thoughts and opinion. Like you've been in the space. I mean, you've been around people and you're bouncing ideas. And I'm sure you're having such intelligent conversations and I'm jealous. I think that's amazing. But now that you've written a book and you've I'm assuming you've read a lot as well. Always curious to know
Mhm.
what's a book or two books that really meant a lot to you personally or professionally? And
Mhm.
what books do you like to recommend to other people? Or what are some books that you think are important for people to read and learn from?
I love that question because I have books in every room of my entire house. So I have a few that I'm going to share. The first one is Five Love Languages for Children, but it's not just for children. It's for anybody. And I'm not going to give away the five languages because I support other authors. So people need to go buy it and figure it out. But everything in life starts with love, and love always wins. I am a huge
Yeah,
fan of the Beatles, as you can see. My second
I've
recommendation
heard of
is
that
Never
one.
Split the Difference. It's a negotiation book, and I mentioned that everything in life is about a negotiation. And there's different tactics and techniques in there that are super helpful for anything, your career progression, your family, your friends. So I hope
Yeah.
that your listeners check it out. The next one is The Formula. If you like fast cars and if you can imagine decisions that are in milliseconds and the systems and the infrastructure that have to be put in place to make that happen, and you use that approach of winning as a team and what it takes to get a car going, that will make a huge difference in your life. And then the last one is for those that are super ambitious, The CEO, The Diary of a CEO. Amazing book, lots of examples of how to be responsible, not just how to achieve results. If you think of the pyramid and the quadrants that I have in my book, this is really the inspirational level of very high on career achievement and very high on role
Well,
modelship.
those are all great recommendations. I've heard of one of them. I'm going to add all of them to my reading list. Because again, if you've read them and they're important, they're probably important for me to read and others as well. And then obviously Role Modelship
Thank you.
is another book we will highly recommend as well. But Ellie, thank you for taking the time to do this because I think this conversation, thank you for being such a positive advocate for role modelship and just your thoughts on AI and crypto and just this world that we're living in. It's so fascinating to learn from people who are in that space and are seeing things and trying to implement the good side of all of this as we move forward. And so, thank you for taking the time to share your story and your book. And now that I've met you, I can't wait to see. I'm sure you're going to have such a big impact on even more companies and more people. And so, just continue doing what you're doing. And we're really excited to have you a part of our journey at Books for Guys now, too. And we'll definitely recommend those books. But thank you so much, Ellie. This has been fantastic.
Thank you. I loved your questions. Thank you so much for furthering the message. It's super important to have people like you that amplify
Well,
diverse
thank you, Ellie. We
voices.
appreciate it.